it sounds so simple, like many other true and crucial fundamental things. But it's very important, I think, to consider that when we let ourselves be surprised by life's inevitabilities, things that must happen in a human's life and will happen, all we're doing is to extend and intensify the effects of those things that must be happening and must happen and have happened already in some cases. An ancient like Seneca or Epictetus would tell you, a Greek ancient would tell you that when we see people around ourselves really in grief or sad or shocked or depressed about any event, usually the question could be put to them, well, did you not know that this was going to happen, right? Did you not know that you can bleed? Did you not know that you can fall? Did you not know that you are mortal, that your loved ones are mortal, that they're humans, that things can happen to them? Or even simpler things, that your objects, the things that you own, the things that you cherish, are indeed objects which can break, get damaged, be stolen. Because so many times when these things happen, which happen to so many people all around us, when we lose things or are dispossessed of them, we see people every day acting like it's the biggest surprise ever. They would have never fathomed that their child could get injured, that something could happen to their house, that something could happen to their own body, that they could lose some or all of their money. And the funny thing is, when it does happen to someone else other than us, someone who we're not particularly close to, someone losing their entire house affects us less than our own teacup breaking. It's interesting, isn't it? Because if that was an objectively horrible, surprising, out of nowhere, an almost unbelievable thing, it should carry the same weight for everyone. But because it doesn't directly affect us, we say, well, these things happen. Should have done this, could have done this, and could have been prevented, but oh well, you'll bounce back, it's just money, it's just objects, right? We tell these things to other people, but when they happen to us, because we haven't prepared, because we did the same thing as they did, even though we're automatically reminded in life of these things so much, we also act like it's the biggest thing that's ever happened to anyone, and it's the worst thing that's ever happened to anyone. And so again, being unprepared intensifies and extends the effect of these things. So naturally, what would the advice of, for example, again, the Greek ancients be? In Stoicism particularly, you have an exercise, if you will, a spiritual exercise of negative visualization, in which you simply meditate on the simple fact that you're mortal, your loved ones are mortal, objects can go, they can break and disappear. But of course, not everything all at once. You pick one thing. Epictetus, for example, says, every time you kiss your child goodbye or good night, say to yourself, you too are mortal. Just reminding yourself of that very simple and obvious fact, something that we cannot escape, but we sure try to escape by ignoring it. This will already automatically, simply by introducing your mind to it in small doses, will prepare you for that inevitability. I mean, you might not experience, of course, your child actually, the end of the life of your child. It might happen to you sooner, but it goes with everything. Every time you run every time you do something physically active, for example. You could pick that scenario. As you're doing it, before you do it, right after you do it, you can tell yourself, this is not a given. This is not a guarantee. This can go away at any time, and in fact, it will go away sooner or later, either because of an injury or because of age. And it really is this simple. And more importantly, almost, or at least equally as an interesting effect of doing this, is that when you are done contemplating these so-called negative things that we tend to call bad things, but which are just indifference and necessities, what happens when you're done contemplating them each time in this way, you still do get to kiss your child. You still do get to run again. And you appreciate it that much more. It's only the people who are struck worst by grief, or again by the loss of some physical ability or friends or objects, house, anything, the ones that are struck worst are the ones who have, of course, least prepared, because, and they also feel the effects the worst because they have regret. Regret factors into everything. And what is regret? Regret is simply the wish to have done something that is no longer possible to do. So if you had intensified your appreciation of your child every time you kissed him or her, if you had appreciated your ability to think, your clear mind, your youth, your comfortable position in life, or again, just your physical abilities, or the appreciation of which country you live in, which nature you live in, what sort of things are at your disposal, which we all have in one way or another, you would have intensified their appreciation while you had them. And when they're gone, it's then much simpler to say, I knew they had to be gone at some point, in some way. And I took delight in them to the fullest extent. I appreciated them while I had them, and it was a great time. And again, all those times, all that appreciation, all that gratefulness, all that making full use of these things while you had them is locked in the past. And now you can relish in their memory. And like I said, this goes from the smallest thing of a tiny little object that you're sort of fond of, all the way to your most favorite human being becoming sick, being damaged, or disappearing altogether. It goes for everything. And on the flip side, like we discussed, you can either intensify the delight, the appreciation you take in it, or the despair and the regret. And so this is what we have to do each day about everything. Just as we go, this doesn't even have to be a special, dedicated, extreme sort of practice or meditation on anything. As you do things, the things that you appreciate doing, think of them in this way. Think of the sure, necessary, and inevitable fact that they will one day be gone. Not only they will be gone, but you will be gone. And any remembrance of those things and you, everything will be gone one day. Sooner or later, every single thing will be gone. But more importantly, of course, within your lifetime, every single thing that you do now, every single thing you've ever done or could ever do, will come to an end one day. And again, if you're depressed, it's not quite there. When you hear me say these things, if this sounds depressing, it really isn't, because if we call necessities of life inevitabilities, things that just must and will happen, if we call them bad things, then we're only harming ourselves. Because animals don't call these things bad things. The universe certainly does not call these things bad things. Day follows night, night follows day. rain follows sun, sun follows rain, and it's just death follows life, and life follows death. It's this eternal contrast and cycle that keeps the earth and the universe ever young, always young. Do you ever see any part of the earth or the universe decaying? It's always a birth and rebirth and death, and out of those rising something new, something entirely fresh. You need to yield for your child to come, and your child needs to yield for their child to come. And of course, this can be taken as literally, but also as an analogy. Everything must yield for it to be renewed. And to ignore these things, to say they don't exist, or to pretend that they don't exist, or to delay them as much as we can, is literally the opposite of preparation. Imagine doing that with any sort of more daily life task or disaster preparedness. That's not how that operates. So why would you operate like that about the most important things in life? It's sort of like, I liken it to a house guest. You know the guest is coming. The guest must come. Let's say that's not in your control. The guest must come. And you hear the knock at the door and nothing's prepared. The bed's not made, the food's not warm, the place is not heated, nothing's happened. You've done no preparation, but the guest is at the door. So now you panic. And now you get angry with yourself, angry with other people, and everything's a mess, and you just don't look good to the guest or to yourself. And that guest could be life or death, advantage or disadvantage, fortune or misfortune. It doesn't matter. The guest must come. The guest will come. And at the end of their stay, of this guest stay, it might even be you who has to leave. And that's fact. But if you're prepared for it, and again in the guest analogy that we just did, to be unprepared only intensifies and lengthens the stay, especially of those things that we like to pretend don't exist. But it goes the flip side. Everything better is made better, and everything worse, what we like to call bad, which is just indifferent, is also made better. Everything is made better by preparedness. That's what I would like you to think. I usually say that's what I would like you to think this week, but I would like you to think about that every week, every day, as many moments as you can, because it's in those moments that we prepare for this, and it's thanks to those moments that we, whatever appreciation we do have for these things, that's when we live that appreciation. That's where it comes from, and that's where the preparedness comes from. And when those inevitabilities strike, when they arrive, this is all that we have to rely on, and it really makes an amazing difference. We read about this all the time. There are historic examples. There are examples all around us. So yeah, that's what I would like you to think about. And once again, the newsletter comes out today, as it does it's been Wednesdays, but on the same day as the video. And I encourage you to sign up for the mailing list. You will receive my journal entry to responding to Seneca's letters, which, even if you don't read Seneca's letters, or you don't want to read anything, this newsletter is a standalone piece that will affirm you, it will encourage you. It can be your weekly dose of philosophy next to these videos. Something additionally, something to read in the morning as you have your tea or coffee or whatever, if you're trying to get away from watching things. It's standalone, like I said, and it's intended to give you that boost, to get you thinking about a few ideas in a very gentle, short, but hopefully still profound manner, where we just throw big ideas at you. and you sort of contemplate them for the rest of the day or the rest of the week. It's very good for that. But also, as I said before, it's the Seneca letters, my journal entry on the Seneca letters, which is part of the mail, the newsletter that you get, is part of the book club that we call Book Club Like No Other, where we read one of Seneca's letters on ethics each week, and then we respond to them with our own journaling to practice these ideas, to implement them, to make them our own, literally with our own words, to convince ourselves of them, and to make them part of our daily lives. This is the way to do, this is philosophical discourse. It's discoursing with Seneca, it's discoursing with yourself. And if you ever wanted to become a better speaker, a better thinker, a better solver of problems, especially about life's big ones, if you want to be more independent in that way, and if you want to be more articulate, not only to others, but to yourself, to articulate your ideas, the problems you're having, the solutions to them, or the possible solutions, this is a fantastic exercise. I cannot think of a better exercise than this for all these things and more. And that's why I started this, because I see the benefits in myself immensely. And since we started it, the thousands of people that have signed up for it, I get emails every day about them, thanking me, even though I'm not doing anything. All I did was to suggest that they start reading Seneca, and actually not just read a letter for 5 minutes, for the 5 minutes that it takes to read it, but to then also just take pen to paper and to put it in your own words, not to summarize anything, not to complement it, but have it be a standalone piece that makes sense to you, simply inspired by the great ideas that Seneca puts in these letters, and he sure does put some great ideas in these letters. So I highly encourage you to sign up. All you have to do for that is go to the website, acceptingtheuniverse.com, and you'll see it right there, and then you'll get it every week. What else you get in them is my favorite quote of the week, some reading suggestions, and of course the newest video for you to click right there. And I, once again, thank you for all the messages I get. Thank you for your appreciation. Even if you don't say anything, it doesn't matter. I still appreciate your appreciation. And we'll see you again next week.